Welcome to the show. I'm JD Allen, real estate investor, author of The Bounce Method, and director of engineering with over 30 years of leadership experience. Through my journey in both business and investing, I've learned how mindset, strategy, and execution can create transformational results, and I love sharing those lessons with you. Today, I'm excited to bring on a special guest, Harris Jones. And with that being said, here she is.
Hey guys, I'm Harris Jones. I am the director of operations at a hard money lending company called Rehab Wallet. We've done over $450 million in transactions, which is how I got started in real estate. But where I'm at in real estate now is I also invest in co-living homes. So right now I've got three houses, 18 rooms, and I'm just scaling up from there.
All right. Hello, Harris.
Hey JD, how are you?
Doing well. How are you doing this morning?
I am doing phenomenal.
So I just
Right.
wanted to get you into a conversation and talk a little bit about co-living and about multifamily. Are you up for that today?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll battle it out on what's better, single family or multifamily.
Yeah, let's battle. Let's battle. All right. So for anyone that doesn't know, could you kind of explain what house hacking is?
Yeah, of course. So house hacking is probably one of the easiest ways to get into real estate when you're first starting out. It's basically where you buy an owner-occupied house, so you're going to be living there, and then you rent out any portion of the house that you're not utilizing. So it could be a basement, it could be a garage unit, it could be an ADU in the backyard, but the way that I specifically do it is by the room, which is the co-living model.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Do you guys get along really well?
Yeah, we actually sat down at the table, the dinner table last night with one of our housemates, and we talked a lot about purpose, and we talked about our life's hardest challenges, which is a an interesting thing to chat about with a stranger, but it always turns into be a good conversation. We get to know each other better, we connect deeply, more deeply than you would in any surface level conversation, and we have a good time with it.
All right. Nice. Nice. So what would you say the difference is between house hacking and co-living, and why would you choose one strategy over the other?
Personally, in my opinion, if you don't like people, you probably shouldn't be in co-living. Co-living is really where you have multiple people that are sharing the kitchen or they're sharing common spaces. So you're individually renting out bedrooms, but you have more of a community feel. So if you don't like people in your kitchen, you don't like people in your bathrooms, you probably don't want to go the co-living route. But the one way that you can get around that with house hacking is, like I said earlier, get a house with a basement, get a house with a garage unit, and that way you don't actually have to live with the other person or the other people. You can have some separation there. You can actually even buy owner occupied up to 4 units. So theoretically, you could buy a quadplex and house hack if you really wanted to. You live in your own unit, and then you have three other people living in their own units.
Now you're talking my language. There you go. So what kind of financial results have you seen from house hacking?
Oh, wow. House hacking for me has been incredible. I bought my house in 2020. So at that point, I didn't live with other people. I just wanted to buy a house because I needed to move. So moved to Charleston, bought this house in 2020, and that was at the point when rates were in the twos. So my interest rate was about 2.75, and now that house cash flows over $1,500 a month. We have other houses that cash flow $1,000 a month, and that's covering all of our expenses too. So we're not just talking about like what are the proceeds, the gross that we're getting. We're talking about the net. So if you can make thousands of dollars on a single family home nowadays, that is pretty good because with the rates where they are now, people can't make single family homes cash flow. So that's the benefit here is you're able to cover your expenses and cash flow, especially with the co-living model in single family now, which is unheard of.
That sounds pretty amazing. Is there a certain demographic you like to target, or you just come one, come all?
We each area is going to be different, depends on what you're close to. So if you're close to a hospital, you're probably going to attract traveling nurses. If you're close to a university, you're probably going to attract students or grad students. Be careful with the undergrads. They're a little bit wild compared to the grad students. We have houses that are close to a Boeing plant, so we tend to get a lot of young professionals who are just coming here to work at Boeing and they need a place close by. Or we get a lot of military personnel because we're close to the Air Force Base and there's a naval base not too far from here either. So that's our it's not our target, but that's who we attract.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, what do you say to the people that are hesitant about sharing a home with other tenants or housemates? What are kind of the biggest lifestyle trade-offs that you see?
Yeah, we've met a lot of great friends through this model. Living with strangers, it seems like something you probably wouldn't want to do. You don't know what to expect, but it turns out you can actually make really great friendships this way. Our very first housemate, he ended up buying his own house and he started house hacking as well. And we still have dinner with him every other week, if not every week. He invited us over the other day and he cooked dinner for us. So you might be hesitant because you don't know what to expect, but if you don't expect the bad, you might actually get the good.
That's really good. That kind of leads me into my next question. So, not just talking about financial strategy, but you're actually helping with loneliness and things like that, right?
Help him with what? Oh,
Loneliness.
loneliness. I don't know that I ever would have expected the word loneliness to come out of JD Allen's mouth, but
Yeah, there you go.
yeah, for sure. I mean, you end up living with a bunch of people, so you never come home to an empty house. You always come home to somebody else's face. And some people tend to stay in their rooms, and that's fine too, but we enjoy being able to come home and chat with other people, sit around the dinner table and talk about our day. And we've even had a lot of seniors who have reached out to us who are interested not in cheaper rooms, but they're interested in connecting with other people. So that they're specifically targeting co-living homes in a good way because they want to meet other people and like be around others, whether they're a widow, they're downsizing, or their children have left the nest and they're like feeling a little bit lonely, they need more connection, then this will be a great opportunity for them to connect with people.
That's awesome. It's great that you can bring in people like that. So, what is your process for finding the perfect housemate?
I don't know that there's such a thing as the perfect housemate, but we found a lot of good ones. We've figured out that we don't necessarily and we can't really say what we want. We can't say you have to be this way because there are fair housing laws. You can't say what a person must be and what they must not be, right? But what we can say is this is how we are. So we tell people in our ads, we don't drink, we don't smoke, we don't watch TV, we don't eat sugar, and people will either filter themselves in or they will filter themselves out. So obviously the people who are going to be the best housemates for you are the people who are most like-minded to you. So again, people that we can sit around the table with and have deep discussion. People who don't drink, who don't smoke, who, are more calm and they just want to come home and rest and relax. Those are our people. So you're going to attract who you are.
All right, that's awesome. So, I know we're going to continue on with co-living here, but like if you wanted to scale up in that world, have you thought about that or how would you go about that?
Yeah, we're on house number 3 right now and 18 rooms. And over time, I mean, you can continue to buy single family houses and you can scale that way. But after a certain point in time, you are probably going to be running yourself ragged, or you're going to have to hire a property manager to go manage all of those properties. So, one of the things that we're very interested in, and that some people are already doing in this space, is they are buying multifamily. JD, you're going to love this, right? They're buying multifamily, and instead of renting out each unit, they rent out each room within that unit. So you're not only getting that cash flow, but in a multifamily model, in a commercial model, you're actually increasing the value of that property because you're doubling or tripling the rents. So if I were going to scale, that is definitely the way that I would scale. Buy multifamily, increase those rents simply by putting people in each room, and then you're increasing your value drastically because, as you know, the value of a commercial property is not based on the comparables, it's based on the income and the expenses of that property.
Very, very good. All right. So If someone wanted to get started with this, what would be some advice that you would give them to get started right away?
I mean, for house hacking, you really don't need that much. People think that you have to have a ton of money to buy a house, and you just don't. You can buy an FHA, a house with an FHA loan for 3.5% down, or if you're a veteran, like my man JD here, you can get a 0% down. You can get a VA loan. So if you want to get started in this, I would go see what types of financing you qualify for, but you're looking to pay anywhere from 0 to 5% down probably on a house. And depending on your market, that really isn't that much money. If for some reason you think, I still don't have enough money to get into my first house, that's okay too. One of the properties that we did, we partnered with somebody. We partnered with somebody who did not have their own primary residence, and that person became the owner occupant. So they got the loan, and we just kind of we partnered up with them on the deal. So you could also do that as well. You could go find a buddy that you want to house hack with. Just go um, talk to them about this strategy and buy a house together, maybe, and then you can split the down payment with them. Um, the other cool thing about FHA loans is that you can get up to 6% seller concessions, which is not normal for a conventional loan. So with a FHA loan, you can have a lot more of your closing costs covered through that 6%. And then they also have down payment assistance programs. We didn't even know that until our very first housemate bought his own house, and he was like, "You guys know I can get down payment assistance, right?" And he taught us something that we didn't even know yet. So he ended up getting like 10 grand of
That's awesome.
assistance on his down payment, which is incredible. So you don't need a lot of money to get started. And this is, and again, in my opinion, one of the best ways to get into real estate if you have no idea where to start.
I think that's awesome. All right. So are you ready to turn it to the multifamily side now?
Yeah, let's turn it over.
All righty.
Let's see, JD. So you started the bounce method, and I'm a little bit familiar with the bounce method. I see you're rocking your swag hat today. What made you create the bounce method, and why did you feel that the multifamily investing world needed this?
One of the things that I have noticed is that most instructors or most teachers of multifamily are all focused on buy, hold, and then hold forever and cash flow, right? And my approach is a little bit different. I try to squeeze every dollar out of the complex that I can before I sell it. So the bounce is actually flipping the project or flipping the apartment complexes, right? Creating that method because no one else was doing was how do we teach this concept that isn't about cash flow, but more about creating equity inside of the project. And then just like a penny, if you double the penny over 30 days, it becomes much more. We try to double the amount of equity that we have every year. That's our push.
Yeah, that's amazing. Getting in, getting out, and building that equity is very smart.
Well, there's
So why?
another, let me throw in, there's one more part of that I think is important. Complexes become old. And one of the things that we hear a lot of times are, you buy this apartment complex and you're going to hold it for 50, 60 years and you're going to have generational wealth and you're going to pass it down to your kids and all of these things. The fact of the matter is these things start to fall apart. And if you can ensure that you're buying a complex that is newer each time and you're also increasing your equity, I believe you put yourself in a much safer situation as time progresses.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't really think about that when you're getting into investing about the depreciation, so to speak, not the good depreciation where you're getting tax write-off, but the bad depreciation where things are falling apart. So 100% agree with
100%.
that. So why did you choose bounce? What does that word even represent in both investing and in life?
So, it took quite a while of actually working through that term.
Okay.
And there's a whole acronym that goes along with it, but really the focus is that we want to buy the property, which everybody wants to buy, right? We want to buy, we want to make sure that we're operating it correctly. We want to make sure that we are normalizing all of these numbers and that it cash flows. And then we want to make sure that we're set for the exit. So kind of working through all of these different acronyms, trying to figure out the right one that would fit. And the bounce also fits that little penny. So we're bouncing up the mountain and we're getting bigger and bigger over time. And that's the whole point of the method.
Okay, I like it. It rolls off the tongue too. Props to your branding people.
All right.
Is that you? Are you your branding people?
Oh, there's a group of us that are branding.
What are the most common mistakes that you see beginners make in multifamily investing, and how does the bounce method help them avoid those pitfalls?
The biggest mistake that I always see is that people continuously want to purchase based on pro forma. That seems to be the major downfall of everyone, and it leads to the foreclosures. That's what happens, right? And if you go back even 5 years, you'll look at right as COVID hit and all of these complexes were growing and people were throwing tons of money in there. The interest rates were at 3%. There were battles to buy these complexes, and people were paying like a 2 or 3 cap to purchase a property that should have been a 7 or 8 cap. And they don't immediately see the hit, but going over the last 3 to 5 years, we have now in some places insurance has tripled,
Mhm.
and then you have the increase in tax rates, and then you had all of these syndicators that have went out and they bought all these properties. And what has happened is they promised these double-digit returns to their investors, and now they're doing capital calls and they're asking their investors to put more money in it. So that's the biggest mistake. Avoid going in on pro forma. Make sure you're always investing on actuals.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen that happen too. These people are making capital calls and then they have to eventually make a decision. Are we going to stop making capital calls and just make the hard call of letting the property go? Or are we going to try to continue to ride this out? So
Right.
it's a hard decision to make in that position. You always talk about mindset, and I love that about you. You're very mindset oriented. So why is mindset just as important as the numbers when it comes to multifamily deals?
So I've come to notice that even my students in the bounce method at times are afraid to take the actual step. And so what we do is we make all of these excuses about why we're not actually taking action and why we're not moving forward. And this, in my heart, I believe that's the downfall of most people because they are afraid to take a step. They're afraid they're going to make a mistake. And this is our educational system's problem too. Let me not blow past that. But what I try to do is ensure that people have a mindset that it's okay to make a mistake, but let's take action every single week. I actually learned something not too long ago. It's like instead of going out and saying, tomorrow I'm going to start working out for 2 hours a day. That's not the right mindset to have because we have trained ourselves and we get in these patterns and we don't even realize it that it's hard to get out of those patterns. And the fix to that is to say, I'm going to work out for 5 minutes tomorrow and set that as a goal every single day, something easy. And then over time, add it, make it 10 minutes and then 20 minutes and 30 minutes because that starts to reset where our mind and body is. And I see the same thing with multifamily. If you're afraid to go out and put in an LOI, go ahead and start doing your underwriting on all the properties. But you're good. Sooner or later, you got to take that next step.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think a lot of people think they need all the information, but the reality is, and you know this too, you're never going to have all of the information. It doesn't matter who your mentor is. You just got to take messy action at some point to get it done.
So
That's just
true.
the way to go. So I'm so curious to hear about some real life examples from you because I know you've probably got some great stories. So can you share a real life deal where you applied the bounce method and then you turned it into $1 million payday?
Yeah, so I'll take it back and this is actually applying the bounce method by going through a couple of properties, right? And it started with a duplex. And the duplex was just fell apart, it got flooded, and I just wanted to cry when it was all said and done, and it was not a success. And the very next deal was a triplex. And kind of going back to the mindset, I was a little bit scared, but I was like, let's go ahead and continue forward. Let's see what we can do. And I bought this triplex on seller financing. And this guy, we literally sat on the back of this guy's pickup truck for hours that day and discussed seller financing and discussed what we wanted to do and talked about life and how he wanted to see this thing grow because it had been in his family for quite a few years, right? And I bought this thing and I just didn't think it was going to make me the money that was like the small time money is what I was thinking. But then I got this property manager, and because I got this property manager, he was calling me every day, and we became really good friends. And the next thing I know, he calls me and he's got this 50 unit mobile home park. And there was absolutely zero way I had imagined even a year before that I could work with this mobile home park, right? And I figured out how to get some private money, how to work through seller financing. This guy was going to make sure that we were able to work out this deal. And so, I went from 20, $30,000 off of this triplex to now I make $1 million on this mobile home park. And then I take that $1 million on this mobile home park and I end up buying a 17 unit, an 11 unit, a 7 unit with this money that I spread out. And then that payday ended up being a $4 million payday. So you start looking at how this bounce starts to happen, right? And that's kind of a short real world example of the process.
And how many years was that process?
It took about 4.5 years.
That's
Yeah,
incredible. That's a great story in a compressed amount of time. So congrats on that, JD.
and thank you.
How you talked about seller financing a second ago. How does the bounce method help investors think creatively, especially when negotiating deals when they have very little to no money down?
Yeah, so that's one of the things we teach in the bounce method is that we have master leases. We can go in, we can do seller financing, we can do carrybacks. There's all kinds of creative scenarios, partnerships even, in order to come in with zero money or a little bit of money down. Because if you don't have any money, mindset again, you immediately think there's no way I can make this work. But that's not true. If you get yourself in a group of people that can work together, you can be very creative with a group of people and finding deals and making them happen. And yeah, it's a lot of fun when you start playing around with it.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely building that network of people is critical to moving up in real estate, 100%. And speaking of network, you've built more than just a framework, you've built a community. So, why is networking and having the right people around you critical for success?
Yeah, the network and the mentorship program that I have, the one big thing that we're trying to build is a lot of number one, good people that want to accomplish some amazing things. And we do vet individuals that we are trying to bring into the program, right? And so we want to have people that are in the program that are willing to think creatively, willing to think outside of the box, and also have accountability with one another. And as we grow, we're starting to see that more and more. And I'm honestly very excited to see where this goes in the future. Anybody who wants
Yeah.
to see it, it's thebouncemethod.com, by the way. Yeah.
Selfless plug.
Selfless plug.
You talk about velocity a lot. So,
Mhm.
how does the bounce method accelerate an investor's path to financial freedom compared to traditional real estate strategies?
Yeah, this goes right back to the penny scenario I was talking about earlier. We're always moving our money. And in the bounce method, our goal was to try to move it every 1 year and 1 day. And the reason that 1 year and 1 day is because we're trying to get past short-term capital gains. And you can 1031 exchange, it's not always guaranteed, but we want to make sure that our money's constantly moving. And that means we're either refinancing or we're selling, right? And that's how, if you go to Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, that's one of the things he actually talks about a lot is velocity of money and always keep it moving. And I 100% believe in that.
Yeah, it sounds like you have done that with your 4 year compressed timeline of that success story you mentioned earlier. So, if someone were to apply the bounce method consistently for 5 to 10 years, what kind of transformation do you think they can expect?
The one thing that we always teach is that we try to have a $60,000 increase in NOI, and that $60,000 increase in NOI is equal to $1 million on a six cap. And I can't say that every single person will start out and hit $1 million on one deal. What I can say is if they apply the method, that they will almost certainly start doubling their money over a period of a few years. And if they start out with zero and 2 years later they've went in on a partnership and they make 50 to $100,000, they start doubling that. We're talking maybe they hit their $1 million mark at 5 years or 4 years. But there are going to be individuals that hit it at the year mark, no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And the compounding just continues to grow and grow and grow.
Right.
I'm super excited to see how you grow in the bounce method, and I appreciate you having a little chat with me. This was fun, JD.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun and I appreciate it, Harris. Thank you so
Mhm.
much.
Talk soon.